Hi there, I'm Yetta. You ever have someone joke about your life like it's entertainment? At our family dinner, my sister looked right at me, in front of everyone, and said, "Just clean for me, I'll pay well." They laughed, I smiled. But inside, I crumbled. Turns out, that dinner was just the start. What followed? Lies, sabotage, my son getting humiliated at school, and the truth unraveling faster than I could hold it together. The dining room buzzed with conversation and clinking silverware, the scent of roasted ham and store-bought rolls masking any trace of my homemade pecan pie. I had rushed here straight from my last cleaning job, still in my work jeans, still with that lemon-scented cleaner on my hands. Marla sat at the head of the table like she always did, flawless as ever in her cream blazer and pearls that practically screamed, "I'm better than you." She didn't look at me when I set the pie down. She waited until everyone had served themselves and laughter was filling the room. Then she dropped the grenade. "Next time, Yetta, just clean my house instead. I'll pay well. You could use it, right?" The room went dead quiet. You could have heard a napkin drop. Evan, my 15-year-old, shrunk in his seat, face flushed. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. My throat locked up. I gave a tight smile and looked down at my plate like I was fascinated by mashed potatoes. I made it through 10 more minutes of that dinner. Barely. I volunteered to clear the dishes just to get out of that room. In the kitchen, I scrubbed the same pan twice. Behind me, I heard Marla laugh about something with Uncle Terrence. She never sounded more relaxed. As I dried my hands, Elwood, her husband, walked by on his way to the den. He paused, gave me this look. Not quite pity, more like discomfort. Like he knew she'd gone too far and didn't want to get involved. When I got home, it was just past 10. Evan went straight to bed without saying a word. I sat on the couch in the dark, staring at the wall, pie still in the to-go container on the counter. At 7:12 a.m. the next morning, my phone buzzed. An email from Marla. Subject, real offer. "Hey, real talk. Got guests coming this weekend. Could use help. Let me know if you're taking jobs. I can afford a solid cleaner." I read it twice, 3 times. My fingers trembled. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone. Like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of our entire family. Like this was a normal thing between sisters. I didn't reply. I didn't even finish my coffee. I just stared at that screen until my eyes burned. That was the moment it hit me. Last night wasn't a joke. It wasn't a slip of the tongue or an awkward attempt at humor. It was a placement. A declaration. She wanted me beneath her. She needed me there. I spent the next few days trying to shake it off. Her words, her email, the feeling that I was just a story she told to make herself feel bigger. But something strange happened the following Friday. I'd just come home after cleaning a regular client's condo downtown. The sun had dipped behind the hills, and the takeout I picked up for Evan and me was still warm in the paper bag. I even smiled a little, thinking about how far I'd come from last year. That's why I froze when my phone rang at 6:03 p.m. "Hi, Yetta," a polite voice said. "I'm sorry, but we're going with another candidate for the Silverleaf Clinic contract. It's nothing personal, we just had someone else come highly recommended." My stomach turned cold. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. That rehearsed tone, that soft rejection, I'd heard it before, years ago when I tried to move out of Marla's shadow the first time. I set the bag on the counter and sat down at the kitchen table, staring at my phone screen. I had a verbal agreement, a timeline. Everything was in motion. Later that night, as Evan scrolled through his phone in the living room, I got a call from Raylene, another cleaner I'd trained once. "You didn't tell me Trina got your spot at Silverleaf," she said, sounding cautious. "I didn't, because I didn't know." Raylene hesitated, then her voice dropped. "Look, I like you, so I'm going to tell you. Trina said she got referred after someone emailed the board. It had pictures, one of you, wearing your old gas station uniform. Said they were concerned about your public image." I didn't say anything, just held the phone to my ear while the room felt like it was tipping sideways. That photo? There was only one person I'd ever sent it to. Months ago, after I picked up an extra job at the gas station just to make rent. I had texted it to Marla, joking, "Rough day, but I'm still standing." She replied, "You always do what you have to. That's something." Now it was something she used to cost me a client, a contract, a chance to breathe. She didn't just humiliate me in front of everyone. She didn't just make me feel small at a dinner table. She took food off my son's plate, with a photo I sent in trust. The next few days moved in a fog. I went through the motions, making breakfast, returning client keys, double-checking invoices, but something in me was rattling loose. I could feel it. By Saturday morning, I needed air. I left Evan sleeping in, grabbed my tote, and headed to the farmer's market. The fresh bread stall always calmed me. So did the smell of basil and peaches, but that morning none of it worked. My chest stayed tight. That's when I saw her, Trina, standing near the bakery truck with her eyes glued to the pavement like it might swallow her whole. I tried to pass her without stopping, but she stepped into my path. "Yetta," she said barely above a whisper, "can I talk to you? Just 1 minute?" I didn't say yes, but I didn't move either. She swallowed hard, then said it. "I didn't know it was going to go down like that." "What do you mean?" She looked away. "Marla reached out to me, told me about the opening at Silverleaf, said she'd put in a good word." I didn't blink. "She didn't say anything about you until later," Trina added quickly. "She told the board she was concerned about image consistency. Then she forwarded them an email, one with your photo." Trina pulled out her phone, shaking fingers scrolling fast. "Here." The message was short. "We're rethinking our decision. Please see attached photo for context. Might not match clinic image." There it was. That same gas station photo. My tired face. My old shirt with someone else's name stitched on the pocket. I didn't realize I was holding my breath. "I'm sorry," Trina said again, her voice cracking. "I thought she was trying to help me. I had no clue she was aiming at you." I nodded slowly. Not out of forgiveness, but because now I knew. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't a one-off. Marla had been positioning herself above me for years, through charity, through advice, through pity. I walked away from Trina without another word, and as I passed the flower stall, memories hit me in waves. The gifts Marla gave me when I was out of work. Grocery cards, always with a smile and a speech about budgeting. Hand-me-downs, still with the tags, but always in a size too small. "You'll grow into them," she'd joke, "or grow down." Even her compliments were cuts. Her kindness always came with a string. I used to think she was being helpful, but now I understood. Marla never gave without reminding you who had more, and this time, it cost me more than pride. It cost me my livelihood. On the ride home from the market, I kept thinking of all the times I let it slide. Her digs, her charity, her masked superiority. I thought I could absorb it. I thought I could shield Evan from it. I was wrong. The next morning, I pulled out the vacuum and started cleaning under the couch cushions. A crumpled envelope caught my eye. One of those school forms with creases so sharp it looked like it had been folded in shame. It was a permission slip for Evan's science trip, due 3 days ago. I knocked lightly on his bedroom door and held it up. "Why didn't you give this to me?" He didn't look up. Didn't matter. Not like we'd have time or the money for it. I opened my mouth, then closed it. His tone wasn't angry. It was flat, like he had already made peace with not being part of things. He walked past me into the kitchen, poured himself cereal without a word. I watched him chew. Every scrape of his spoon against the bowl felt like another second I'd missed what was happening under my own roof. Later that week, I waited outside Tacoma High in the pickup lane. 2 moms stood nearby, chatting. One leaned in and lowered her voice just enough to still be heard. "That's her, Evan's mom, Marla's sister, the one who, cleans." They both gave that polite laugh people do when they want to sound amused, not cruel. But I saw Evan's shoulders stiffen as he climbed into the passenger seat. He shut the door and turned the music up before I even started the engine. I didn't speak on the drive home, not because I had nothing to say, but because I didn't trust what might come out. Rage, shame, or worse, tears. He headed to his room without a word. I stared at the dishes still in the sink from yesterday. I leaned against the counter and tried to swallow the lump in my throat. I used to think I could handle the bruises, her words, her looks. I thought I was the only one absorbing the hits. But when your child starts carrying the weight of your humiliation like it's their own, it changes everything. I peeked into Evan's room. He was doing homework, earbuds in, expression tight. The silence between us wasn't just quiet, it was heavy. That was the night I stopped waiting for peace. That was the night I started preparing for war. The next morning, I skipped my usual routine and sat at the kitchen table staring at the sunlight crawling across the floor. My phone buzzed around 10. Unknown number. I almost let it ring out, but something told me to answer. Yetta, it's Elwood. He sounded tired. He asked to meet somewhere neutral. We settled on the coffee shop near the hardware store, somewhere Marla wouldn't walk in. When I arrived, he was already sitting, stirring cream into coffee like it was the only thing he could control. He didn't look at me right away. I should have said something sooner, he started. You didn't deserve what she did. None of it. I stayed quiet. We're in debt. Bad. She wanted the new kitchen, then the car lease, the country club membership. She said it's all part of branding the household. He laughed, but it wasn't funny. I'm drowning, Yetta. Second mortgage, maxed cards. I even sold some of my tools. I felt the sting in my chest but kept my tone even. So why are you telling me this? He looked me in the eyes. Because someone in this family needs to stop pretending. That afternoon I drove straight to Marla's house. I didn't call. I didn't text. She answered the door, still wearing heels and a half-fake smile. Well, this is a surprise. I didn't waste time. You crossed a line. She blinked. What are you talking about? You sabotaged my work, you embarrassed my son, and for years I let you do it. But that ends today. Marla tilted her head, arms folded. So what? This is your little rebellion? No, I said. This is your warning. For a moment I thought she might actually hear me, but instead she smirked. You've always been dramatic, Yetta. You don't scare me. I stepped back. I'm not here to scare you, I'm just letting you know. Whatever happens next, you asked for it. Back in my car, I adjusted the mirror. My hair was messy and my eyes looked tired, but there was no flinch left in them. No shame either, just steel. The next week unfolded quietly. On the outside, I still worked. I still packed Evan's lunches. But inside, something had settled. Like a beam had shifted, and now the whole structure of how I'd lived was tilting. Tuesday morning, I opened my front door and nearly tripped over a cardboard box on the welcome mat. No note, just my name scribbled on the side. Inside were tax folders. Elwood's. I knew his handwriting, but it was what I found in the manila envelope beneath them that made me sit down, hard. Second mortgage agreement, credit statements, property appraisals. Marla's name stamped across every major purchase. Branding consultation. Jewelry business startup. Vacation property deposit. And Elwood's name, right next to hers. Every page, every line. He had co-signed it all. She mortgaged their entire life, I whispered to myself, flipping page after page. She built her castle on his back. I didn't wait for an invitation. That evening, I walked into Elwood's garage office. He was sorting bolts into jars, pretending to be busy. You left this at my place, I said, holding the envelope out. He froze, then slowly took it from me. His hands were trembling. I thought maybe someone should know what she's been doing, he muttered. Before it all caves in. I met his eyes. You don't owe me an explanation, but I'm not going down with you. His voice cracked. You're not trying to fix it? No, I said. I'm building something outside of it. I turned to leave, then paused. I'm applying for new contracts. Under my own name. No ties to her, no strings. Back home, I sat at my laptop, drafted the email to a local clinic I'd cleaned for once, briefly, years ago. Hi, my name is Yetta. I own and operate a private cleaning service. Licensed, reliable, client references available. I stared at the cursor before hitting send. Not dramatic, not desperate, just true. I didn't own a business suite. I didn't have a website with glowing testimonials, but I owned my time, my story, my name, and no one was going to weaponize that again. 2 days after I sent that email, I was on my porch trimming dead stems from my hydrangeas when a sleek SUV pulled up beside the curb. Marla stepped out, designer shades hiding half her face, the other half set in a curated smile. Hey! She called out, like we were still sisters from childhood, and none of this ever happened. Just wanted to swing by, see how you're holding up. I didn't offer her a chair. She looked around like she was inspecting a property she might flip. Thought maybe you could clean for us next week. There's that big brunch I'm hosting. You've got space in your schedule, don't you? I stared at her, certain this was a test. Or a trap. You're serious? Of course, she said. No shame in honest work, right? I stepped aside and gestured for her to come in. Not because I wanted her there, but because I wanted her to see exactly what it looked like when I didn't flinch anymore. She stood in my living room, arms crossed. This is cute, very lived in. You keep forgetting, Marla, I said, my voice calm. I'm not your project. I'm not your story to embellish. You're being dramatic again, she shot back. A couple cleaning gigs and you think you've escaped gravity? I walked to the drawer, pulled out a printout. I held it up. This is the email you sent to Silverleaf, the one with the photo you pretended was sent out of concern. You buried my chances with a smile. She stiffened, then scoffed. It's not illegal to look out for my friend. I didn't lie. No, I said, but you told the truth like it was poison. That's worse. She didn't argue, not directly. Instead, she tossed her final jab before walking toward the door. Mom agrees with me, by the way. Said you've been off lately. Bitter. Jealous. I blinked once. She called me after your little meltdown. She's worried about you. I didn't follow her out. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it, quietly. But that sound, the firm click of the latch, was louder than anything we'd said. She hadn't come for help. She came to reestablish the throne she thought she still sat on. And when I wouldn't bow, she did what cowards do. She called for backup. A week passed. The invitation came in the form of a group text from Mom, something she rarely used unless it was about holidays or someone's surgery. Family dinner, no drama, just food and healing, Sunday at 6. I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. And then I simply replied, I'll be there. Not to make peace, but to deliver truth. By 6, I had double-checked the flash drive twice and printed out backup copies. Evan stayed with a friend. I didn't need him there for this. This was about me reclaiming my voice, without raising it. Marla arrived at Mom's like a movie character. Big smile, makeup flawless, over-laughing at nothing. She leaned over and kissed Mom's cheek like she'd never thrown gasoline on a house fire. She's not well, Mom, she said under her breath, loud enough for the table to hear. She's been erratic, threatening. You should have seen her last time. I set the flash drive on the table like a coaster. You'll want to see this. She froze. Mom blinked. What is it? I stood, calm, steady. I didn't come to argue. I came to clarify. We plugged the drive into the living room TV. One by one, the files played. Marla's email to Silverleaf, with my photo attached. Trina's recorded voice memo confirming what Marla sent and said Elwood's notarized statement of the second mortgage Marla orchestrated without transparency. A screenshot of the message offering me a cleaning job after mocking me at dinner. The room was stone silent. Marla scoffed, but it sounded different now, tight, unsure. So what? You're acting like that's a crime. I looked at her. No, it's just the truth, and you don't like how it sounds without the perfume on it. Mom turned toward her, eyes narrower than I'd ever seen. Did you really do all this? Marla stammered. I was trying to help. I was protecting. Elwood cut in, voice low but certain. You were controlling, and I'm done. I've spoken to a lawyer. Trina stood next. Yetta's never been loud, but that doesn't mean we didn't notice what you did. Some people survive in silence. Doesn't mean they're weak. I finally sat back down, not smiling, not smug, just lighter. Because when truth has the mic, there's no need to shout. 3 weeks had passed since the dinner at Mom's. The air was cooler now, spring brushing in early with crisp mornings and gentler light. I stood in my backyard, watering the small vegetable beds I'd planted with Evan last fall. The soil smelled like something steady, something growing. Inside, Evan set out paper plates and a tray of sliced watermelon on the patio table. You think Aunt Trina eats turkey burgers? He called out, grinning. Before I could answer, her car pulled into the drive. She stepped out holding a manila envelope. Silverleaf wants to rehire, she said as she handed it to me. Turns out professionalism outshines gossip, even theirs. Inside was a new contract. My business name at the top, no attachments to Marla, just mine. We didn't toast, we didn't cheer. But something settled between us, a quiet acknowledgement that respect, once earned, didn't need applause. I hadn't heard from Marla, neither had anyone else. Word was she got dropped from the charitable board she clung to. Something about ethical concerns. Elwood moved into a rental across town, then left for Oregon a week later. A letter from Mom came in the mail. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I should have. I tucked it into the drawer beneath Evan's old report cards. I didn't burn it. I didn't write back. Some endings don't need punctuation, just space. Later that evening, as the grill hissed and Evan tried to flip burgers like a pro, I caught him watching me. You know, he said, tossing a bun onto a plate, you're kind of a badass. I laughed. I'm just a woman who got tired of shrinking to fit a role I didn't audition for. He shrugged. Still sounds like a badass to me. The sun dipped low behind the fence, casting our shadows across the lawn. I looked around at my quiet life, the one I built with bruised pride, boundless love, and no apologies. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't some storybook win. It was healing in its rawest form, unseen, uncelebrated, but mine. Sometimes surviving quietly doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've chosen your dignity over drama. It means you've decided not to let other people define your worth, even when they share your last name. Looking back, I used to think setting boundaries would break the family. But the truth is, letting people walk all over you breaks something much deeper, your spirit. And once your child starts carrying that silence as their shame, that's when you fight, not to destroy anyone, but to finally defend yourself. If you're watching this and you've ever been made to feel less than because you took a different path, maybe one with fewer titles or polished smiles, I want you to know your path still matters. You still matter. Family doesn't give anyone the right to own your voice, and healing doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with peace, quiet, steady, earned. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up to someone in your own family? What does dignity mean to you, and how do you protect it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, even if it's just a 1 to let me know this story hit home. Or tell me where you're watching from. I truly love seeing this community grow. If this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next chapter.